and I quote, an abomination that makes a mockery of history. We are talking about this concept called facadism, the deliberate demolition of all but one elevation of an old building. Okay? One project that illustrates the inherent illogic of protecting historic facades by disembodying them. The Amussen Jewelry facade in Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay, well, let me see the picture. Let's see the picture. Let's see. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Utah, what are you doing? That is bad. Guys, I need the whole story of this monstrosity. What is facadism? What were they doing in Salt Lake City? And please, 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 tell me that this is still here. Welcome to ARCHWOAH with Mason O. This is a story about the most egregious example of facadism in the entire United States, arguably. Mall developers saw the preservation of the entire building as intruding on the basic configuration of the mall's plan. So to appease the preservationists, they agreed to preserve the building's facade and convert it to an entrance located within the mall, thus creating what I believe is the most egregious example of facadism in the entire United States. When I was first told about this, I said, whoa, we are not just gonna walk past this floating pink and purple dinosaur and just keep walking. We have to investigate this absurd moment in architecture. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys share the same opinion as me. Mall developers are some of the worst amongst us, driven by greed and profit, and their sense of design is about as sharp as a beach ball. You know that, I know that. Mall developers are horrible. But even I am shocked by this crime scene of a front entrance, and I have to have answers. How could this happen? How on earth could City Council at Salt Lake City possibly give this a green light? And most of all, can we go visit this thing and take selfies in front of it right now? Because holy shit, everyone needs to be gooning in front of this thing. We are going to try to get to the bottom of this. So here we go. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to Google Maps, and we are looking at the 2007 picture. And what is that? July 2007? What do you think that is, guys? Like, what? Like, that kind of looks like the facade, but something isn't right. Oh man, guys, I fear the worst. Do you think that the whole thing got demolished? Damn it, man, I hate when this happens. Demolished in August 2007. This is like certified day ruiner for any architect. You discover a beautiful building and then you find out it's already been demolished. Oh, look at that. Oh no. Oh, not the animated play-by-play. Oh, Jesus. And look, that, like, right there, that's where our little facade would have been. Oh my God. Rest in peace, or rest in pieces, I guess. Man, guys, this is like just a classic case of arrive too late. Well, look, guys, I'm sorry that you got in the jalopy of justice with me just for me to drive you off a cliff. But even I'm sad. Like it is very crushing to see this thing go, especially after knowing that it left such a legacy as the stubborn grandpa building that would not budge when the new hippie buildings try to move in on his lot. But let me tell you about that, okay? Let me tell you why this building was such a big deal. Okay, we're going to go back. We're going to go all the way back to cowboy times, America. 1854 in Iowa. And here's our guy, William H. Folsom. He is 40 years old. He's an architect. He's a builder. He's a construction manager. And he's been doing this a long time. He is talented at architecture and construction. And this is his one true calling in life. He knows he's destined to be a great architect someday. He doesn't know it yet that his big break is absolutely coming. Okay, so here's the story. So Folsom, at age 40, has one goal: make it to the big city, Salt Lake City. If you think he's built some great buildings until now, just wait until he finds his forever home in that hot and sexy new metro, Salt Lake City, where he will do all of his best work. So that's the goal, make it to Salt Lake City. This all comes years and years after establishing himself as the talented, trustworthy, let's get it done kind of architect around town, okay? Ever since he was a kid, he was doing this, and he got that feeling that he was destined to build great buildings in his life. Okay, so like seriously, since he was a little kid, he's been working with Daddy, who is a big tycoon contractor, and he and his dad fully ran the family contracting business together since he was a kid, okay? I mean, like here is little William, age 16, and Dad has got him as a top manager at the company, building and directing all these projects, okay? So needless to say, the apple does not fall far from the tree with William. Okay, so now he's 40, and he's been doing great work, but his life lacks that clear direction. Okay, up until now, his life has been a lot of rambling. He's kind of been moving and bouncing between cities, doing work with his dad, going wherever the money is, following this community of friends, just trying to keep work and make money. Okay, he's in New Hampshire, then he's in New York, and he's in Illinois. And at any point, he has no idea where he's going to be in the next 5 years, okay? He has not figured out that he's supposed to go to Salt Lake City yet. But it is at this time that I need to tell you something else. Something else you need to know about William. He is very handsome. And he's not just an architect. He's a talker, okay? William knows how to lay on the charm, okay? He's not just out here building buildings. He's out here building relationships, man. Okay, so all his life he's been doing this, making friends, moving and shaking, and he makes friends with townsfolk, city officials, all the best bricklayers in town, the best construction guys, and of course, he even meets a lovely lady who he asks to be his wife. Now, normally I would pass this part up because it's irrelevant to the story, but her name is so cool that we got to take a beat for this. Her name is Zerviel Eliza Clark. Bruh. Could you imagine having a friend named Zerviel Eliza Clark? And like you go to introduce her to someone, oh, this is my friend, Zerviel Eliza Clark. And you got to say all three names because that's how important she is. Okay, like she's just this cool, awesome chick. Okay, so everybody loves William. Everybody knows how talented he is. He's everybody's friend. And at this point, William is just 27. Okay, and he and his wife have found themselves in a little town called Nauvoo, Illinois. And he becomes friends with a certain character. Now, if you did your homework, you already know where this is going. Yes, I said Nauvoo, Illinois. So this guy that he met, it's not really the biggest deal ever. You know, he's not really that famous. Just a little guy by the name of Joseph Smith. No, not that Joseph Smith. The Joseph Smith. The man who wrote the Book of Mormon and founded the entire religion. That Joseph Smith. William Folsom becomes friendly with the Mormons, converts to Mormonism himself, and becomes acquainted with Joseph Smith. Okay, this is a game changer. The entire story is about to change. I'm not kidding, okay? So if you know anything about the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, they have a rich history of Joseph Smith founding the religion and pioneering a very forceful missionary campaign to establish their temples and outposts around the country, okay? They were a powerhouse and very much helped pioneer early Western America, okay? It's incredible. And honestly, they built some amazing legendary architectural buildings that maybe we'll get into in another episode. But for our story, so Folsom is Mormon now. And all he had been doing thus far in his life is meeting people and just trying to secure his next architecture project. But once he meets Joseph Smith and the Mormons, the organization essentially realizes how valuable his talents are as a construction badass, and they move him right up to the top of the ranks. Like, he's going to help the Mormons build all of their new buildings, and he basically becomes, as I would put it, their anointed retainer. Okay. Now, if you know anything about the story of the Mormons, they got kicked out of almost every town they went to. No one wanted their preachy, wacky, missionary garbage. And they had a really hard time establishing colonies. The founding of the Mormon religion is basically a series of chapters of them trying to establish themselves in a town and then getting violently pushed somewhere else. And after tons and tons of these failed attempts, they finally make it to their promised land, Utah. And they find a settling point that's going to work out for them. This one is it. Salt Lake City. Pretty much just a desert and a blank slate to them at this time. This is the place where they're not going to get kicked out, and they are going to headquarter for realsies. Okay, so do you see where this story is going, right? So the Mormon leaders are building their city. They are going to turn Salt Lake City into the Mormon headquarters. And they basically tell Folsom, hey, man, get your ass over here. We need you. We are going to give you as much work as you can handle. And so Folsom, he's like, well, I say, Servile, we got to pack up our gear and head west. Oh, my goodness. It's all coming together. So Folsom is 40, and he's ready to make that big move. But here's the thing. Moving to Salt Lake City is not that simple. Have you ever moved to another city? It's not exactly easy peasy. And back then, they didn't have U-Haul. No, I'm kidding. But I need you to understand something. At this point in history, this is before trains. Okay? This is before trains. Okay? 1855, trains are kind of coming pretty soon. And they are absolutely going to change every single person's way of life. But this emerging new tech hasn't hit the market yet. And that means all we have right now is the precursor to the train, the wagon way. Okay? Wagon ways are horse and wagon plus thin little wood rails on the ground to guide the horse. Okay? Effectively, it's like a rudimentary version of the road running cross country for transportation of goods. Okay, this is cowboy time stuff. Okay, and by the way, the precursor to this was the mine cart. Okay, little small wooden carts on little tracks made to be pulled with a rope by either a person or an animal. And before that was ancient Greeks who just cut grooves in the rock so that people could pull little wagons in a straight line. Okay, absolutely fascinating. Just the evolution of human history. Okay. We got tracks that are grooves cut in the rock. Then we get mine carts. Then we get wagon ways. Then we get trains. Okay. So currently in our story, we're not quite at train yet. We're still using wagon way. And William Folsom, if he's going to go west, he's got to leave with a big group. Okay. This is how the wagon ways worked. People travel in the caravan, right? Dozens or hundreds of people all plan to leave at a certain time. They gather all their horses, load up all these wagons, and they all travel together as a big group to increase survival. Okay, so if you miss the caravan, you're not going. And this is what happens to Folsom many, many times. Given all the other crazy shit going on in his life, he misses the caravan several times, and he stays longer than anyone else before finally making that big, long journey to Salt Lake City. But when he does finally get there on October 3rd, 1860, he was met by none other than Brigham Young, the very important, very famous leader of the Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake City. He does two things immediately when he sees William Folsom. He was a very immediate man. Number one, he gives William Folsom a ton of work immediately. Folsom's big break, check. Number two, he locks eyes with Folsom's daughter immediately and starts courting her around. Oh my God. She was 22 and he was 59. Oh my God. And he had 51 wives. and apparently she was his favorite wife. Oh my God. So all that sounds gross, but Brigham Young was like actually low-key onto something, because at age 22, she was a piano prodigy. She was just as charming as her dad, and she went on to become a massively effective political activist, fighting for women's suffrage and sitting on the board of lady managers at the Chicago World's Fair, 1893. So we're going to get back to William, but there was just no passing up these epic fun facts about his daughter, Amelia. One of Amelia Folsom's distant cousins was Frances Folsom, first lady to President Grover Cleveland, and Amelia was there for that wedding. God, isn't history fascinating? I can just imagine Amelia Folsom getting sturdy on the White House dance floor at the reception in front of Grover Cleveland. Amelia, present at the wedding, confirmed. Amelia getting sturdy in front of Grover Cleveland, not confirmed. Okay, so those are your fun facts that you can put in your pocket. All right, so Brigham Young puts William Folsom to work, and Folsom goes on to design tons of famous early Salt Lake City buildings. He does the Gardo House, the Provo Tabernacle, and yes, he does the ZMCI department store facade. This is just to name a few. And of all these badass, prestigious buildings in his catalog, there was one tiny project that most people forget about. The Amussen Jewelry Store. Yes, the moment you've all been waiting for. It was a commission by the distinguished jeweler and watchmaker Carl Amussen, also a Mormon, who wanted a store. He wanted the most luxurious, prominent, fancy store in town to try to allure customers to the beauty of the jewelry that he was selling. And he wanted none other than the famous William Folsom, and boy did he deliver. Folsom called for native sandstone, plate glass windows, and slate roofing. Okay, all these were new technologies at that point. It was the first naturally fireproof building in Salt Lake City. This was very high tech, and in the center of downtown. It was 2 stories when everything else that had come before was just 1 story. Its long life is truly a testament to how strong the construction was. Folsom absolutely nailed it. It was there for decades and decades and decades, and it was just this gorgeous landmark in the heart of Salt Lake City. And now for the interesting part. How could anyone want to tear that down, right? How could anyone in their right mind beshame this beautiful piece of architecture, right? Like this old facade feels like textbook example of historic preservation. Don't demolish that one, right? But yet, by 1977, a lot of time had passed. The building wasn't exactly well taken care of, kind of fallen apart, showing signs of aging. And lately, downtown had been tuning up and kind of getting shinier with lots of new modern stores. And at this point, Amussen Jewelry was the last pioneer-era store still standing in Salt Lake City. And that's exactly when someone had an idea. Economic stimulus. Uh-oh. They really said, let's go all in, let's put them all here. Oh yeah, you know what's going on. Classic. It's the 70s and the 80s. Malls are all the rage. These developers have absolutely no foresight for a mall's long-term impact. And they want to put this thing right in the heart of downtown, obviously, right? And so there's just one little issue. That stupid old jewelry store is in our way. That crusty old thing has got to go. And you might be thinking, gosh, this is terrible. Do they have to clear out the whole thing to build a mall? Can't they make a neat compromise and build around it or incorporate it into the mall or something? And if you think that, pat you on the back, because that is absolutely the right idea. And it's exactly what happened, just in the worst interpretation imaginable. So, as you can guess, the mall developers did not give a shit about the historic value of this building. Dude, they gave more lip service to traffic flow numbers than they gave to draxing the priceless monument. And the way I would put it, in 1977, as the mall was moving along, Historic Preservationist Defense Force was wimpy. It was wimpy. They were too late to start reacting, they were not unified enough, and they were not large enough to stand against the giant consortium that was making deals in the penthouse with city government and with the powers that be with the Latter-day Saints. Pretty much the only reason the facade got saved at all is because by sheer luck, the Amussen building had gotten designated on the National Register of Historic Places 2 years earlier. Thank God. And I know I just called it luck, but it is tangentially connected to the slowly growing awareness for preservation in America that had been picking up since the 60s-ish. So anyway, the mall developers, who I will now refer to as the Mall Consortium, they were basically weaseling their way through loopholes in the law, not going to battle with historic preservation NIMBYs. NIMBYs were not a thing yet. So as preservation in America was still kind of in its infancy, facadism was like this one approach that was still experimental and hadn't been done enough times for there to be a unanimous opinion that it's a shit method for preservation and one of the worst excuses for preserving history ever conceived. The whole thing is pretty laughable in a way, like in a dark, twisted comedy kind of way, especially when we're forced to live amongst shit like this. But it is 2026, and the consensus that facadism sucks is still not the case. Like, facadism is a debate at this point in time. Like, if you're talking about facadism, it's generally understood that we're talking about a polarizing issue. Facadism, as you've probably guessed, is demolishing all but the front face of the building to build something new behind it. Because, well, that's the part that's facing the street, so it's pretty much the most valuable part if we're going to have to save something. Developers love facadism, obviously, because they get the most bang for their buck. All they care about is money, and they're trying to maximize space on their lot. They claim that that's the only way to be profitable. Typical. So with facadism, this preserves most of the historic architecture in just a sliver of a footprint on the lot. Preservationists hate it because it's basically bastardizing history, not respecting it. If only the pretty details on the front get saved, you're denying people the chance to understand what that building was, how architects used to build, what it felt like to be inside a place like this all those years ago, how long structures can last if they're done well, and of course the relationship that the building had with the streetgoers. Please, can our history be more than cosmetic? And obviously the mall consortium got away with it this time, and the grand opening mall ceremony was truly pathetic. A little group of preservationists cheering and saying, "Oh, thank you, developers, for blessing us with this great development. You gave us our little treat by protecting our facade." And they did the tiny plaque thing praising Carl Amussen. Then when they all turn around and go home, they look like ants next to this big gray monster eating the Amussen facade. So funny. So do you see how it all happened? It wasn't just one thing. It was historic preservation protected it, but protection was pretty flimsy at the time before historic preservation was well established in America. It was hundreds of millions of dollars were at play behind closed doors, and the little voices in the newspaper and at local taverns saying, "I don't like where this is going," could not stop that steam train. It was, truthfully, the decision makers did not care. The city did not care. The mall consortium did not care. No one who was making a decision cared about heritage or implementing strategies to let a city age gracefully. They cared about enormous dollars in revenue and getting their paws on it right now. Always ask yourself, what do our leaders care about? Now, as we close out this history of the Amussen facade, you might be asking, can I at least see a picture of the nice detailing? Can I see some of those sexy architectural photography pics that capture its beauty? Yes, great idea. Let's close with that. Here is a picture of the whole facade from 2024. Wait! 2024? This isn't a historic picture from before the mall? This is a current picture, and there's no mall. What is going on? Yes, it's true. That shitty mall that the consortium developed was demolished in August 2007. That's why in Google Maps, July 2007 showed the mall in that pre-deconstruction phase with the facade removed. Wait. What is going on, guys? Fasten your seatbelts because we are about to go 0 to 100 in the jalopy of justice, okay? In 2003, the Latter-day Saints bought out the mall from the mall consortium, and they said, we're gonna build an even bigger mall with even more stores, and it's not gonna be some shitty gray bank skyscraper. It's gonna be one of those cool, new, trendy, outdoor mall experience things that they're doing now. It's all still just capitalism, just with a different flavor. But what's beautiful to me is that the mighty Goliath crumbled and fell before David the Amussen facade did. Those Mormons, those old dogs, that secret society running Salt Lake City, they made sure to save the Amussen facade in their new mall, but they decided that they weren't going to keep it in the same place. So, I shit you not, they contracted professionals. There's really a whole industry for this. They disassembled the facade, brick by brick, inventoried every single one, polished and restored them, and built it again somewhere else inside the new mall. That's the pic that you see in 2024. What? She's saved! No, literally, she's alive and well and restored quite nicely inside the new mall. And that's it. We can all go take a road trip right now to Utah and go see it today. What a wild ride. Today, we learned about Mormonism. We learned about Pioneer America. We even talked about facadism. And we saw how all of it was connected. See, this is why we have to look deeply behind things. If you were at that new mall today and you didn't know what the facade was because it's a different store now, you would never know the years and years and years of roller coaster that this facade went through. So I will leave you with this final thought. As you see more historic places and start telling your friends about facadism, remember this. It's easy to have a commoner's debate about facadism. The commoner's debate is, I don't see the issue. The historic facade remains. It enlivens the street experience with that tasteful touch of familiarity, a sensible economical approach. Versus, when only one facade is saved, we're trashing the functional reasons that the building was ever made and abandon its relationship to the context of the earlier era. Okay? That's the basic kindergarten level debate about facadism that's happening. We are far too intelligent for that. The real debate is, okay, well, what are we going to do for this specific building? One size does not fit all. The goal is a pleasant blend of old and new. And so we're going to design it differently every time based around what's old and what's new for each case. It always depends. Who is going to be going in the building every day? If it's not general public, that kind of feels like a small return on investment. Does the interior really even need to be preserved? Was the facade designed to be pretty, but the backside and interior basically blah? The Beaux Arts movement actually kind of did that a lot, to be honest. Will the doors still lead you somewhere? Do the windows let light in? No one likes a window that you can't see out of. And if we choose to preserve this, how much will it really give back to society? If it costs more money to preserve and maintain than people actually go there and enjoy it, doesn't facadism seem adequate? I'm playing devil's advocate here because I need you to respect how complicated it gets. It always depends. There's always a complex compromise that will have to be designed. I need you guys to be smart enough to bring up that conversation. A very ginormous thank you to Carl Abbott, veteran author of historic preservation, who captured the brilliant picture from the beginning of the video. In the words of Carl, quote, preserving the facade of a 4-story building to front a 4 to 6-story development is one thing, but preserving the facade for a shallow entrance to a high-rise is another. Scale matters.